إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. One of the most important activity of our daily life is our earning. And we need earning for having good life. We need earning for ourselves, for our families, for our children, for looking after our parents, for our future. And most part of the life goes on earning money, on earning. And the earning, it reflects like how you are living your life, how kind of life you are living. So we think about earning all the time. And for earning, we go into different business opportunities. We look for different avenues to earn more money, to gain more profit. We look for better job prospects so that we can get better salary. And we look for different business partnerships and different investment facilities, like we go into probably forex or drop shipping or investment somewhere in the cryptocurrency. So we keep on looking. We do risk analysis. We do our own research, like what is good for investment, how can we gain more profit, what's good for our future, what's more secure. But usually we fail to do research on whether it is halal or haram, whether this kind of investment, this job is halal or haram. We don't do research. We don't go to the sheikh. We don't go to the religious scholar who is expert in that field to show us, to teach us whether this field is halal or haram, whether this income which we're going to get is haram or halal. And we try to skip that. And it's a very sensitive topic for many, because we say that no, we're living in a non-Muslim country. We cannot always think about haram and halal, or this thing was something from the 1400 years before, or it's for the Muslim countries, or the whole world is being involved into this thing, and we cannot be looking for haram and halal in everything, or we can't survive, our families cannot survive. So we give excuses. So Prophet ﷺ said in hadith, authentic hadith in Sahih Bukhari, that an era will surely come where people in which the man will not care about his income, where he is acquiring his wealth, whether it is lawful or unlawful. So Prophet ﷺ has predicted this time already, and he has said that there would be a time coming when people would not be caring about the income. So first we need to understand what is haram. And haram is something what is prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is clearly prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is explained by Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that something is haram, it is prohibited. And what is some kind of, there is something doubt, then it might not be haram, it might be haram, it's disliked, then it is makruh. And many of times there are things which were not at the time of Prophet ﷺ, these online investments like cryptocurrency or forex trading or drop shipping were not at the time of Prophet ﷺ. And even things like smoking was not in the time of Prophet ﷺ. And if we go a few years back, like 50 years back, when the smoking advertisement was going on, and people haven't done the research, or the scientists haven't reached the level to say it is haram, the scholars from most of the four school of thoughts and the learned scholars, they said it is makruh. But when the latest research came up, the scientific uh, evidences that it harms our body, it harms the people around us, it harms our future, then most of the scholars said smoking is haram. And when we know that smoking, okay, something, we eat a piece of morsel which is haram, the bread, piece of bread which is halal, but it came from the haram money, and we ate it, it will 40 days of our prayers would not be accepted because we have used something haram. So we have to understand what is haram, and there are clear guidelines in the Sharia to say what is haram and halal. So something which was not at the time of Prophet ﷺ, we have to approach the scholars, the authentic scholars, and who are giving authentic evidences to see whether something is haram and halal. So the income, what makes it haram? Income. The sources of income, the sources of money, what is coming through the haram sources is haram income, which is again, which is clear, like we have divided into three categories. One is that clearly haram, like we are dealing with alcohol, we're selling alcohol, we're buying alcohol, we're serving alcohol. It's clearly haram, it's been mentioned in the hadith, mentioned in the Quran. And we're dealing with interest, we're dealing with riba, we're working in an organization which is completely dealing with riba, and we're dealing with things like selling haram meat. So it is clearly it is haram. So dealing with the business, what is haram, clearly it's haram clearly. And the second thing is we are investing something from our halal money into the haram activities. Like we got the money from our parents, we got the money from our hard work halal income, and we are investing into the haram activities. We're probably investing into the forex, we are investing into buying something which is haram, we're investing into buying the meat which is haram. So that income also becomes haram, which the money generated from this kind of activity also becomes haram. And the third is from our halal money, from our haram money, the money coming from haram, we're going and investing into halal. We're going and we going for umrah, we're giving charity, we're going for hajj, or we are investing into some halal thing, but the money source, what we got is haram. So these are the three main categories of income what is generated from the halal means. So we have to understand that this haram income has an impact on our life, and why Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said us to be careful with such kind of income. And we know many prohibitions in the Quran. There is a prohibition for zina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do not go near zina. And there is clear cut punishment for the people who do fornication and for adultery. And there is clear things for slandering. If somebody is slandering, there is a clear punishment for that. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discuss about the haram income, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is discussing about riba, the tone of the Quran, the wordings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses completely changes, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes the wordings is completely different. The verse of the Quran says that a person who deals with the interest, he is having a war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the war with Prophet alayhi salatu. The verse is like the believers, oh believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing to the believers, saying that if anybody deals with the interest, then he is going to be in the war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet alayhi salatu. And Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu mentioned that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the arrow, a weapon to the person who was dealing with interest and say, now go and wage war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's like a weak country, a weak place. We know, we have seen the wars around us. We know the wars going on around us. A weaker country is not able to defend itself. A weaker country is not able to defend its properties, its assets. Everything gets destroyed. Its business gets destroyed. The buildings get destroyed. Families get killed. So because it's not able to take attack the powerful country, it's not able to defend the powerful country. So imagine you are having a war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as mentioned in the Quran. So imagine dealing with interest, and we see some of the scholars might say that, oh, it is halal in dealing with a non-Muslim country, we can buy a house, one house is allowed. But we should see that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran, which is clear. So we can give similar definitions and similar thing halal for other activities as well. Okay, drinking a bit of alcohol is halal, having one extra relation is halal. So it can go on. So we have to see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, which is clear. And as I said, the impact is in our life. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it is haram? it impacts our life, it impacts our future, it impacts our children. The first casualty of having the haram income is our heart. And as I mentioned in the previous khutbah, that when all the sicknesses comes from the heart, all the things, our actions, what we are doing, good or bad, we have feeling when we have khushu in the salah, like when we are praying salah, and if we have our thoughts going into business, thoughts going into something else, thoughts going into the family, that means we don't have khushu, and our heart is engaged with something else, means we have the sickness in our heart. So the haram income, first it affects our heart, and we are not having khushu when we are doing dua, when we are seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have something, we are not praying with the dedication. When we are giving something, when we are reading the Qur'an, when we are reciting we are reading the hadith, or when we listen to the hadith, we don't feel interested. When we get some hadith in the, probably when we're scrolling phone, we want to quickly just skip it because we don't have interest. Our heart is saying just skip it. So the first impact of haram income is on our heart. And Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that verily the servant commits a sin, a black mark appears on his heart, and when he abandons it and when he seeks forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the heart is been polished and it's been removed. But when again he sins it, when he again goes back to the same sin, the heart becomes more blackened, and eventually the whole heart becomes black and it won't be functioning. It's sick heart, it's a dead heart, then it becomes, and it won't be indicating you towards halal, and it will be not stopping you from doing some haram activity. And the second casualty of your haram income is that your sadaqah and your zakat is not accepted. The more we give charity, we're going to the masjid, we're giving to a family, we're thinking it's sadaqah, we're going for umrah, we're going for hajj, nothing is accepted. One of the companion of Prophet ﷺ, they both were going, and one of the companions stole something, and he went forward and he gave it to charity. So other Sahaba said, what have you done? He said that I heard from Prophet ﷺ, when we commit a sin, it's one sin, but when we give it, when we give charity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives multiple folds back. So I have done one sin, but I'll be getting more reward. So he said that no, the haram, the money generated from the haram income is not accepted. So the haram, what you have done, you have only got the sin, but nothing is going to be returned back. So if we say that no, we're living in a non-Muslim country, this is okay, this all reasoning, we are trying to convince ourselves, but indeed, in fact, there will be impact on ourselves. When the zakat money purifies our wealth, but the wealth itself is generated from the haram, what purification it will be doing. And the third casualty is that our du'as are not accepted. We are raising our hand, we are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are crying maybe. And one of the stories that one of the Prophet ﷺ said that one man, he travels on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is dirty, he's dusty, and he's working very hard. And he raises his hand and prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he says, oh Allah, Allah, give me such and such thing. But his dua is not accepted because his earning is haram. His clothing, what he bought, is from haram. So everything is haram, so his duas are not going to be accepted. So even though when we are traveling, duas get accepted. When we raise our hand, duas gets accepted. When we are working hard, duas gets accepted. Whatever conditions he fulfilled, because the income was from haram, his dua was not accepted. So when we are praying for ourselves, we are praying for our kids, praying for the people in Gaza or whatever, duas are not accepted because our income's from haram. So we have to look after our income wherever the source are. We have to be vigilant, and we have to have taqwa whenever we are doing something. As Prophet ﷺ said, taqwa ha huna, taqwa is in the heart. And what is taqwa? Again, one Sahaba radiallahu anhu, he explained that when we are going through a thorny bushes, when we are going there, so we are vigilant, we are being very careful, and we are taking care of our clothes, that it is not getting stuck to any thorn, so that it doesn't get ripped. So we're being very careful and walking very slowly, that it doesn't touch us. So we have to walk in this world similarly, that nothing comes to us, nothing, the fitna is all around us, and we should be very careful that it shouldn't be touching us. And may Allah make us understand what is haram income, and may Allah protect us from the haram income and give us sources and ability to earn halal income. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. The fourth casualty from the haram income is that acts of worship at large is not accepted. That Allah does not accept the salah of a person who has prohibited within him. So, as I said, that if we even take a morsel of halal bread made from halal ingredients, but the money what is used is haram, then it is again haram, and we consume it. So 40 days of our prayers are not being accepted. So we have to be careful what income is coming in. If something is within is which is haram, then the impact will also be haram. And one of the salaf said that if your ride, like your car or your horse, at that time it was horse, and your wife and children are misbehaving with you, are being rebels with you, then you have to look at your income. So they were so deep in that they were contemplating and were thinking what's going wrong and what's happening. So he said that if the horse and the wife and children are misbehaving with you, then you have to look upon your income. So as a large, our salah, our zakat, our hajj and umrah would not be accepted if the income is from haram source. So it's like a tragedy. We're building a tall tower, but the foundation is weak. The building is going to fall down. It's not going to be lasting. And and may Allah make us understand and keep closer in the companionship of the scholars, keep in relation with the scholars so that we can get good learning from them, good advices from them. It's like we are being in a perfume shop, we'll be trying so many perfumes, we'll be smelling good because we're living with good people, smelling good because it's a perfume shop. So if we be with the scholars, if we be with the learned people, and if we keep on being with them, then we'll be having the effect as well. It is said that if you be with four scholars, you'll become the fifth, and if you be with the four millionaires, you might become the fifth, and if you be with four thieves, you'll become the thief one day, and if you be with four stupid people, will become stupid. So we get the impact of the society. And even one of the hadith is that one of the from it's a story of Bani Israel, that one man, he did 99 murders, and he wanted to have forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he went to a monk and he said, is there any forgiveness for me? So the monk said, there is no forgiveness, you have done 99 murders. So he killed him as well. So 100 murders he did. And then he went to a learned scholar. Then the learned scholar said, yes, of course there is forgiveness, and if you seek forgiveness from true heart and your actions are changed, then Allah forgives you. So he said, what's the advice for me? He said, you need to move away from the people you're staying, because he was being with thugs and murderers. So he advised him to move away to people, and he advised him to go to such and such valley where people, scholars were living. So he made an intention from the true heart, and when he was going, he died. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him and made him enter Jannah, even though he did not pray one salah. So if we are thinking of changes in our life, we have to do it today. We don't know future. We don't know if you're going to be alive tomorrow. So we have to take the action from our limbs, and we have to move towards goodness. And may Allah make us understand what we have said today and move towards it, learn more knowledge, and understand, and make our family also understand, teach them as well, and have halal income. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين واذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر اعداء الدين. اللهم اعط نفوسنا تقواها وزكها انت خير من زكاها وانت وليها مولاها. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما. اللهم اجرنا من النار، اللهم اعتق رقابنا من النار، اللهم اعتق رقابنا ورقاب ابائنا وامهاتنا وزوجاتنا من النار. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك، يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه ويجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.